What's up, guys? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to another episode of Diagnostic with Dakota. So, in today's episode, as y'all can see, I have an empty computer case in front of me with my throat always, every time. I have an empty computer case with nothing but the motherboard, the CPU cooler, and that's about it. All the components are laid out on this desk here. And the only reason the motherboard's not out is because when I went to remove the motherboard, I forget that the CPU cooler screws hold down the motherboard too, and I don't have thermal paste. This isn't a full-on repasting, although that wouldn't be a bad idea, especially considering the fact that this is a refurbished computer. So the purpose of this episode is to really go into depth on computer parts, what their purposes are, what their defects could be, possible obvious issues within the computer that you may experience. Whether it is a depinning connector or a bad GPU, you're going to learn all about how to diagnose and troubleshoot all these parts. So we're going to start with the basic critical parts, and we're going to install these parts as I explain them too. So you guys will get a nice immersion of how to install these parts, how to build a computer, and everything like that. So right here we have a power supply. With the power supply, you can do a lot. You can do a lot with a power supply. You can power a computer. If you really wanted to, you could strip the positive and negative wires. Because there's 4 of them right there. 2 black, 2 yellow. And power something else if you really wanted to. Would I go buy a power supply that isn't out of a PC, please? Power supplies are expensive. Not these though. These are cheap. These are like $20 on eBay. So yeah, power supply. If this is going bad, if this is going bad and causing inconsistent voltages to your GPU, your hard drive, your RAM, your CPU, it could cause the computer to boot loop. It could cause your display to just shit on you. It can cause a lot of issues. So if you are ever having like just random issues, it could be linked back to this buddy right here. When it comes to troubleshooting though, you don't want to just assume the first guess that comes up when troubleshooting a computer part. What we're gonna do is we're gonna install this baby on in there. Make sure that it is sitting correctly. It goes in this way. It actually goes in this way, because I remember the fan controller being this way, yeah. And this actually has little sliders inside of it, if I can get it on them, that hold this baby in place. So I never actually have to deal with screwing it in yet. Because sometimes those little sliders like to fight with us and not pop down in place as I need it to, like it currently is trying to be. Oh damn, my glove ripped. So the reason I'm wearing gloves is because your oil's on your skin and the static electricity, though it's not really a huge problem anymore. I try to aid on the side of caution. Typically when the glove rips though, I don't care and I'll just keep going without the glove. Now, if your glove is ripping consistently while working on a computer, I hate to break it to you, my friend, but you should probably look at another field, because computers, you're meant to be delicate with these babies. You aren't meant to abuse them. You're not meant to manhandle parts. Oh look, it slides in so it goes back and then front. And now that it's secured, but it's not secured because it still needs the screws. Now that we have installed the PSU, we are going to properly make sure my hands aren't sweaty, because like I said, oils can be a big problem when installing things on a computer. Actually, my hands are a lot cleaner now that I put the gloves on for some reason. We are going to route these cables through these little black things right here. Actually, I'll bring you all a little bit closer so you can see the inside. These little black things are right down here. and route the cables through and plug them in. One right here. Hook that baby in there, and we're just going to hook this down for just a second. And then we're going to run this through here, and then through here. So we can run to this connector on the back. It has a little metal retaining thing right here. We're going to put it in that and push up on it. So it hangs there and has no possibility of it clipping on any of the fans. See, it runs all the way around. And it is officially plugged in. We now have our power supply installed, other than just the screws. The screws will come at the end when I go to install the exhaust fan. Our next part that we will be installing is our drives. This is a hard disk drive. This is, big bulky drives back from when I think it was around the iPhone 5 came out, was when these were, your main source of storage. You use these for boot, you use these for dump files, and now they're mainly used for game files, dump files, editing files, video files. Those video files can get pretty big. I mean, our last episode where we went over the disabled USB port, that's about a gigabyte size video. It's pretty big. So yeah, these are great for that. You never want to use this as a boot device now that we have things like SSDs, which are solid state drives. The purpose of these is just to hold power. It's just to hold the information data. If these are defective, you will see issues with launching files, opening files, and you'll see things like this file no longer exists, and even though you can see it right in front of you. That's one of the big things with these. A lot can go wrong with these going bad. Actually, your computer can blue screen and not turn back on until you replace it if it's bad. So just a little something to think about. Be nice to your hard drives. This goes in like this. No, it doesn't. It goes in like this. I made this mistake earlier. Clicks in place. This button right here releases it. And then we have a little disk drive. You can pirate video games, pirate movies, catch felonies, go to prison with these. You can actually burn songs onto discs with these. You can use this as a storage device for removable disks. Like if you're creating antivirus software, or viruses, or if you're doing anything, these are good for that because you can burn things onto a CD. No one uses CDs anymore though. So if you're making a virus with a CD, whose computer you're gonna install it in? Grandma Jean's? Don't do that. It's not nice. We'll slide that baby on in there. Listen to that click. Now we have our disk drive and our hard drive installed, and our dump drive installed. Everything's coming along quite well. We're down to our RAM. This contains all of your temporary memory. Like the display screen, all of the binary code running in loops over and over again. So that doesn't take up a shit ton of space on your drives, consistently getting stored up in a cache. Gets installed in these. So it deletes when the PC shuts down. Or, that's why restarting your computer periodically is important, because even the shit that you have closed out still stores on these. We're going to be installing these up here. So if these are going bad, you can lose display, games won't boot up as fast, games won't boot. This is your main piece right here that lets you run video games, that lets you run applications. Without this, you can't run anything. You need this. Actually, the display won't even show if this isn't installed properly. So as you guys can see here, there is a little notch right there. This is DDR3L RAM. It's a little bit old, ancient RAM. We're now in DDR5. It's different. The notch is different based on sticks and everything. Actually, I think they're all the same, but I'm unsure. You match that notch to. We're gonna bring y'all close to the PC case again. Match that little notch up to Oh no, you're on uneven ground all of a sudden. I put you on top of my extension cord for in here. You're going to want to line that little notch up with these notches inside of here. You can see knots there and there. You don't want to line that up. Make sure it goes in there straight. And if it's not in there straight, it's not going to pop in properly, but as you can see, the clips automatically pop in place on their own. I don't have to do anything other than push it in lightly and not manhandle it. Please don't manhandle your PC parts. This isn't a fucking radiator that you're trying to get out that has these bolts. Click them both in. Now the RAM is installed. You can do a little push-pull-push sentence. Make sure that there's no dust or dirt on the pins when you go to install those two. Make sure the pins are cleaned off. Once that's installed, you now want to move on to your boot drive. This is a 256 gigabyte SSD. This is what I use for my boot, so I have a quick boot. This is what I use for my games. This only has boot drives, game launcher files, and critical things on it. Barely even, there's still like 150 gigabytes left of space. If you are ever going to use your boot drive for your game storage, please at least leave a good like 25 to 50 gigabytes of space on it. Otherwise, your boot time will be slow as fuck. So yeah, let's get this baby installed in there. I typically install it in the top row. I would show you all this part, but it's literally so quick. I'm done. I'm done installing the SSD. It's right down there, as y'all can see. Hold up. Ah, it's right down there. It just goes in. There's actually 2 slots for an SSD, but I only have 1 SSD. And there's not actually enough SATA power points to run more than 1 SSD and 1 hard drive. Now, if I swap this to an SSD and put this in here, I could possibly power a hard drive off of the power cable for the disk drive and remove the disk drive. Now, there's a lot of possibilities when it comes to computers, because it really is just a bunch of wires and mini wires running in this motherboard. Like all of these transistors, all of these capacitors, they run on a line, and power runs through them, and it keeps it all running nice and neat and swell. This is actually some pretty good wire management. I'm pretty proud of it. Next, we're going to go on to our Wi-Fi adapter. Without this, you're only going to be able to run wired internet, whether it's built into the motherboard on a USB stick that came with the PC, which actually that's what I got. I actually had my friend gave this to me. Much respect for that. This thing, it runs my Wi-Fi well, and it actually runs it at the 400 megabytes per second that I need it to run my Wi-Fi at. So, much love to the person who gifted this to me. We are going to come in and install this. So as you can see, there's 3 black PCI ports and then 1 blue one. The blue one is for my graphics card. It's for your GPU. It's for this little hunk of meat right here. Those black ones can be used for, NVMe adapters. Maybe you want to put an NVMe adapter in here so you can run an M.2 drive because you're out of SATA points, or other things. You can also put an extra GPU adapter on there and have 2 GPUs. But why would you want 2 GPUs? I get if you're running overkill, but they don't stack on top of each other. Only sometimes. I don't like to let my GPU, which sits in the blue one, and my other cards conflict with each other, because as you can see, I don't have screws for these points. So my Wi-Fi card goes on the bottom. And you just slide that baby on in there. Like I said, don't manhandle it. Boom. Nice and tight. Right on in there. Look at her. Look at that card. You can actually see the antenna point sticking out, which I have 2 antennas up in my spare wires and computer components box. So we will definitely use those. Next, we start installing cables. Actually, we install this next. And this does require the screws from the protein scoop right here. Actually, I love that there's still some protein powder in here. That's insane. I've had this scoop for a long time though. So from the looks of it, GPU faces down. So this is probably also going to go like that because it's an exhaust fan. Wire is going to run just like this downward towards the towards that connection right there, that brown connection right up there, the 4 pins. So what we're going to do first is start slotting the screws in there. Another way you can see if it's actually in there correctly is because where the screws go, you'll see thread points. There's a thread pitch in the points because when the screws go in, it kind of creates threads. And then there's no threads at the back. So actually I was wrong on the way it went in. It goes in like that. Yeah, just like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install the first screw, get it pre-threaded in. And then what we're going to do next is pre-thread the second one in. Because now that we have one screw in there already, all I have to do is line this hole up. Yeah, this is correct. This feels a lot more correct than the way I had it. Thought it was previously. Like, I sat there for a good 5 minutes thinking, which way does the fucking fan go? This way. And we're going to plug this baby back into here. Now you got to be really careful with pinouts like this, where the metal pins are actually exposed when plugging things back in, because it can cause a good bit of computer issues if you break a pin, especially a system fan pin. It's on there. It's plugged in. Let's grab our last 2 screws for the fan and fasten it down. We're actually almost done with this full-on build. Y'all have built a computer with me, and I hope y'all learned something along the way. Mainly how to build a computer, how to maintain a computer. You know, you can now take all these parts out and clean the pins, dust out the portholes. Like down here, you know, you want to dust those spots out because they still do accumulate dust even with parts plugged into them. I hope you learned something along the way. Go ahead and look down in the description below. Go check out our merch site. Go check out our website. If you have any tech questions, go ahead and give us a call too. We got it all for y'all. Don't worry. I love how the fan is just loose as fuck. That's alright. We gotta screw it down now. Oh, wait. I went the wrong way. And I typically do a fitment of crisscross, so it doesn't have any spots where it's like actually leaning into the case, because like we don't want things like that, or things like this little loose wire right here for the peripheral for the button. Though you know, that wire was hanging originally. My goal is to have everything clear, and that's like a big reason why I also tore this down. I was like, oh hey, look, content idea, but also we can properly install the wiring, because Dell also sucks at installing wiring. Dell, you should just hire me. I'm better. You won't ever have to deal with customers complaining because you put in a couple extra parts that weren't necessary, like a fucking fan controller. Actually, that fan controller isn't your guys's, but like that SATA splitter, I didn't end up needing it. There we go. So now that we have all of that installed, we now get to install the beautiful cables that are our power cables. This is our GPU power cable. This goes in last, as I've said before. This one actually goes in first, right behind the 8-pin connector for the power supply. This goes in this little black connector right here. Actually, funny story, this came off of the motherboard. I had to repin it, which was crazy for me, because I was like, what? Yeah, we got the connector back in. Now that that is installed, this side goes over to the disk drive. So we are actually going to properly install that. One goes down here. Now I see you guys are like, oh, Dakota, you're losing out on wire management now because you're hopping around wires. No, I'm not. I have a plan of how I'm going to do this, and it's going to look nice. It's going to look real nice. push down these little babies. And now, let me plug this one into here. Dude, I put my freaking SSD in upside down. I'm like, hey, why aren't these plugging in like they usually do? Because the SSD is in there upside down. This goes in like that. There we go. Now let's pop this little thing open. Now I will say, if Dell made this case, or if the company, the third-party company that refurbished this made this case, you guys did well making a case for such a tiny little computer. Especially in terms of build quality, because you know, you have all these spots where you can do wire management and just management in general, and I love neat wires. I love neat wiring. You just see the way that my wiring looks underneath the desk. You know, I have all these cables that run back here, but under the desk it looks like 2 cables because they're all zip tied up in cable coil. So next we are going to install this little buddy right here, which is actually our GPU PCIe power cable. Now what I'm used to is this actually running out of the power supply, but because it's a Dell product, it needs to run off of a status splitter, because that's how it works in this world, guys. Dell will be making everything just so exclusive to them, guys. So I have that installed now. This is the current progress of it. So we have all of the wiring for the disk drive and the hard drive installed, the wiring for this solid state drive installed down here, and now we just need to install the SATA cables, the GPU, and we can power her back on and see, does she work? Sometimes fidgeting shit, it'll break just because it wants to break. I can't do anything about it. Orange SATA cable, this one will go to the hard drive. Actually no, this one goes to the disk drive. And this little black port right here. Hold up, let me turn y'all towards the PC. And this little cable port right here. Now it doesn't matter which one goes into which, but I'm very specific. As I've said before, I'm big on neatness, especially in a case where if a wire gets frayed because the fan is getting caught on it, it can start a fire. You know, I'm not trying to have a fire hazard death trap case for my PC. So we're doing this proper. Okay. We only need 2 more SATA cables, one for the big hard drive and one for the SSD. This is the SSD one right here. I use a secure SATA cable for my SSD because, as I said, it's a boot drive. I'm not trying to take any corners when it comes to the main critical drive for the computer. Plug this baby on in, run it around the back of the power supply, run it through the cable grabber, which actually this is the last cable grabber use that I'm going to need for this one back here, but it's already fighting with me big time. There we go. And we're going to run the SATA cable through here. I'm going to run another SATA cable through here. Well, that's the same SATA cable. Run this through the GPU cable right here and pop that baby up on here. Okay. Successfully installed the new SATA cable. Why are you twisted up here? Why are you twisted up here? No, sir. I did not say you guys could twist out at the connector points. Now what we are going to install is the final SATA cable for the big drive. It goes into this white one right here. We're going to pop this baby up on one more time. Slide in one more SATA cable into this little wire pinout thing. Actually, I don't know what these are called. I call them retainers, but they have different names. And we're right on the big drive. Actually, I think this is upside down. Yep, right on the big drive. Now we're going to run these 2 cables underneath the blue, underneath the metal retainers. Make sure these are compressed down so they don't pop out. Boom, bap, pam. The computer is rebuilt. Look at that baby right there. Look at that wiring. That beautiful wiring on the right. It's all nice and neat. Now it's time for the final part. The big man, the big hunk of meat right here. The 1660 Super. Actually, as much hate as people give the 1660 Super, it's still a good card. Especially paired up with the right CPU. Okay, pop this baby in place. Now I did break the little retainer right there for it, so we need to hold it up until I get this baby closed. And the computer is rebuilt now. All I have to do is install this final cable. No, don't let that pop off. There you go. There she is. Now, sadly, there's no way I can run this down. So let's close her up. Make sure that this cable is not running underneath or on top of my CPU fan cables. Turn her on her side. Pop everything back in place. There we go. The full chassis. Let's grab this baby back. This is our test of the PC. This is, fun fact, this is an actual badge for a Model Y. It goes on like this, like a little door, and swings right on there. No, we aren't going to put the official side panel on until this baby boots up properly. Alright. Let me set her on back down here. Let's hope we have good news. Shoot, I might even skip over plugging it into the motherboard for a diagnostic run and just being safe about it and just being quick about it because I really want this to run correctly. So yeah, let me set her back down on her little plate on the ground. It's a wood board that I have connected to my desk. So the HDMI is currently unplugged because that is the monitor that I have set aside. We are only going to use one monitor to test peripherals, make sure everything works as needed. And then once we get that finished, well, we are going to progress from here, and that'll be for the video. So yeah, let's get this all plugged in. It's the fact that I forgot the screws for the power supply. I'll be honest with you, I really don't care. So it just did the 30-second power cycle. I do not see an orange light, which is good news. I have this funny little controller right here that lets me remotely start the video, and I accidentally sat on it. So that's what ended that last video, and why there was a little cut in between there. So the computer is plugged in. I need to plug in the display cable for this monitor right here. If all goes well, it should boot into Windows, and we're good. If all does not go well, we will not get display. Alright, let me get my display cable plugged in. I hate this part. There we go. Display cable is now plugged in. Let's boot her on. Let's go. Focus on the piece of art right here. Hey, why aren't you booting up? I don't see an orange light, so maybe I unplugged the... Yeah, I can hear it booting up down there, so... I swear, if I unplug the power cable for this, I'm gonna be so mad. Yeah, I can hear the fans booting up. I don't know if y'all can hear it too, but the fact that there is no visual is problematic. Is the GPU fan spinning? Yeah, the GPU fans are spinning. Alright. Let's see. If the fact that it wasn't powering on was the fact that I was plugging in the wrong cable. Let's see. Because you should be posting. Nope, that's my display cable. It's not posting. This isn't good. I can hear it running properly, but it's not posting. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to move this monitor over so I can plug the USB in, the HDMI in, and see if it's recognizing everything that it needs to recognize for the computer. So let's go back here and plug this HDMI in. Oh, it's already plugged in? Okay, let's plug it into the PC directly. Typically, we don't want to do this, but in this case, we do. So I want to figure out why it is not posting display, and it will post display if plugged into the GPU. If plugged into the motherboard, it will still post the display. Although, I do think I put that fan backwards. Okay, the Dell monitor comes up. It's posting. Okay. So, the cable for the graphics, for the HDMI cable. So I don't know why there's a scroll bar, but let's unplug this baby from here and plug it back into the GPU. I know for a fact y'all can hear that fan now. The fact that the computer just shut off on me is scary. Let's plug both cables back in, actually. It decided to power on its own. Oh! It's posting? Is it posting? Alert, keyboard not found. It's posting though. Yeah, because now it's going to actually power into the Windows screen. Right here. Let me grab the infamous mouse that didn't work. And the keyboard. Let me actually plug the GPU back in. Look at that! We posted. We got display. We've officially rebuilt a computer together. Hope y'all learned something along the way. Leave a subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit that like button. Turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching Diagnostics with Dakota. And yeah, let's get this all put back together. And that'll be it for today. Thank y'all for watching.